Hello everyone, it's time for the preview show delivered by FedEx. I'm your host Alan Cavana, and joining me once again from NBC Sports, Marty Snyder. Marty, we saw 90 laps of good racing in the All-Star race.
Fun.
You ready for 600 miles, though?
I love the 600, you know, and after seeing the pace that was set in the All-Star race, I mean, it's just crazy out there. I cannot wait for 600 miles. This, to me, is one of the great weekends of the year. You know, you have the Indy 500, you have Monaco, you have the Coca-Cola 600. It is a fantastic weekend for racing.
Yeah, and in that All-Star race, we saw some performances from drivers who really need them. Casey Kane was probably the fastest car in that All-Star race. Clint Bowyer showed a lot of speed in the sprint showdown. Even Matt Kenseth drove all the way up to finish third. Now, Marty, those are three drivers that still need a win this season to qualify for the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. But really, how much can you translate, how much does that success translate over to the 600-mile race?
Yeah, I think you can certainly tell who had the speed, and I think that's a big key going into the 600. But to take those three guys individually, in my opinion, Casey Kane, those guys clearly have a ton of speed. He made the top line off two work every time in the All-Star race. I think there's something missing for the 5 team, though. I think they need a couple more things put together because they can't finish races. That's the big thing for them. I think Clint Bowyer and his team have clearly gotten better on mile-and-a-half racetracks. I think they need a little bit more to be able to get a win as well. Talking to one crew chief this week, that he told me he felt like the Gibbs group was who impressed him the most of the All-Star race. They didn't lead a lot of laps, but they made big gains. And actually, Denny Hamlin was the best car in practice among the Gibbs guys. So I think they're all getting closer to a win. All three of those cars that you mentioned, closer to a win. But what we saw in the All-Star race were short runs, you know. And we talk about when we have a normal race, who's good on the short run, who's good on the long run. Long runs never really came into factor or into play. They will be a factor this weekend in the Coca-Cola 600. That'll be interesting to see how that plays out. If you can keep up that pace the entire night, like they did in the All-Star race, and if you need to keep up that pace for 600 miles.
And in that 600 miles, maybe one of the biggest storylines of the weekend in the world of auto racing will be Kurt Busch. He's attempting to do the double, the Indy 500, and then the 600 miles at the Coca-Cola 600. Marty's trying to do something that's only been completed once, all 1,100 miles.
Yeah.
He's not having the best season, though, in Cup right now. Only one top 20 finish since his win in Martinsville. On the Cup side of things, how do you make sure it's not a distraction for that 41 team?
Oh, it will be. I mean, there's no way to make sure it's not a distraction. It has to be a distraction to that team because I've been through this when Tony Stewart did it, John Andretti, Robbie Gordon, and they'll all say during the middle of it, it's not a distraction. And then afterwards, they all go, it was a distraction. Kurt came out and said it. The priority is the Indy 500. That is the only way for Kurt Busch to be successful in the Indy 500. He can sort of halfway do the Coca-Cola 600 because of his experience in these cars, because of his knowledge of how these cars work. The 41 team is not running well, but Stewart-Haas overall has gotten better in the last few weeks. I think eventually the 41 team will get there. I know people are worried he's going to fall the top 30 in points. He's not going to fall the top 30 in points.
A quick question. Does he have a better shot at the Indy 500 or the Coke 600?
Indy 500, no doubt about it. Because Andretti Autosport is so strong, and the 41 team, to your point, so far off right now, a mile and a half. That has been their big struggle. If this was Bristol, maybe he'd have a shot at winning the Bristol race, but I just think the Indy 500 has a much better shot to win there.
Indy-Bristol double. I like
That'd
that
be
idea.
fun, yeah.
But that leads us to our social poll of the week, with Kurt Busch attempting to do all 1,100 miles. Again, something only one person has done, his boss, Tony Stewart. How well will he finish in the Coca-Cola 600 after hopefully running those 500 miles up at Indy? In the Coke 600, will he finish in the top 10, the top 25, or 26th or worse? You can vote at NASCAR.com/social. Now, Marty, it's time for us to pick winners. Our picks didn't do so well last week, but who's going to win the Coke 600?
Hey, you know, my pick was pretty good, I thought. Jeff Gordon was pretty strong. But I'm going to go this week with Kevin Harvick because I think when a team shows that much speed and they have the issues they had on pit road, they had not one bad stop at the end of the race, but one before that. And Rodney Childers told me he thinks they're going to be even better in the 600 speed-wise than they were in the All-Star race. I think it's hard, and you hear me talk about speed all the time. It's hard to deny the speed that Kevin Harvick and his team have early in runs, late in runs, kind of everywhere. And the team's got nothing to lose. This is a race where you can gamble a little bit on pit road, especially late. I think Kevin Harvick is going to be the guy to beat this weekend.
I'm picking Casey Kane. I like what we saw in the All-Star race. As you said, Marty, he was the only one who had who showed speed. He can get by on the outside, and the runs weren't that long, but he was the only one that was able to move up during green flag runs and make up that track position. And Marty, I want to tell you, his last two Coke 600s, he's finished second in first. He has 3 Coca-Cola 600 wins. He knows what it has to be done for 600 miles. Casey Kane's going to win it.
I think they're a little bit off right now, but we'll see. I mean, they certainly had all the speed they needed to be able to win a race like that, so they certainly need the win, don't they?
Absolutely. And may the best pick win.
There you go.
All right, for Marty Snyder, I'm Alan Cavana. Thank you for joining us for the preview show delivered by FedEx. Have a great holiday weekend, everybody.